Hello, good evening. Welcome to Business Live. Tonight, coming up in the bulletin, small businesses say 1 billion cedi stimulus package is woefully inadequate. Meanwhile, banks are expected to retain 3% interest on soft loans for SMEs. We hear from the executive director of the NBSSI. Plus, Ghana Gas rejects claims LPG supply to consumers is contaminated. Thanks for being with us tonight. We've got details right after the break. In our first story tonight, government has, through the National Board for Small-Scale Industries, initiated processes to disburse a stimulus package for businesses to offset the impact of COVID-19. The initial amount of 600 million Ghana cedis has been increased to 1 billion, available only to businesses with less than 100 workers. Some owners and operators in the Ashanti region say the amount is woefully inadequate to return businesses on their feet again due to the heavy losses incurred. Prince Apia has been speaking to some of the business operators and filed the report. This report in today's Business Journal.
We're still waiting for the directives. They just announced that we don't know where to go.
Aboagye-Wiafe is Chief Executive of Event Space and Recreational Center, Safari Gardens. He explains the impact of COVID-19 on his business and others in the enclave.
Also, we buy drinks within our local industries. There are people selling drinks all over here, and they stock our freight for us. We buy food stuff. There's a market just behind us. We buy food stuff for the restaurants. We don't do them. We buy water from here. We don't do them. The people within, casual workers, we pick them from their localities. Every day you see them coming. Can we get any job, any casual job to do? On the taxi drivers say when there's a program here, you know, they get a lot of money from the people who are coming for the program and things. All of them are suffering now. So it has really affected the whole environment, the whole community. Everybody is crying.
Owner and Chief Executive of Royal Lameta Hotel, Aboagye-Wiafe, says the facility has lost close to 500,000 Ghana cedis between the lockdown period and now.
As when the president announced it on the 9th, by 11th we had cancelled 41 conferences and workshops. It spanned between March and July. So we had this wedding activities and all those things. We have to stop everything. We've lost a lot. Not less than maybe 500,000 Ghana cedis.
President Akufo-Addo launched a stimulus fund on Tuesday as part of intervention to cushion businesses like Yao Brefo and Owusu-Echao in the hospitality industry against the impact of the COVID-19. There are, however, fears some businesses, by their status, may not benefit from the relief package. Leadership of the Ashanti Business Owners Association, for instance, is helping some of its members to properly formalize their businesses to enable them qualify. Mark Osei-Boache is secretary.
Considering the uncertainty in the system now, the flow of the business has changed a bit.
We hear there are stimulus packages. What are you also doing locally since you operate within this space?
Some of them have their business not well formalized. So we are trying to formalize their businesses to make sure that anything that is going to happen, they are going to have a benefit of what the intervention that the government is bringing on board.
Regional Chairman of the Ghana Tourism Federation, David Donyina, argues that the money will make little impact in view of the number of SMEs in the country.
No, it's woefully inadequate. Let's look at this scenario. We have about 1 million SMEs in Ghana. Now let's take that. The woman said they are going to focus on 200,000. Now if we divide 200,000 by 600 million, it's 30,000. What is 30,000 to a hotel? Now, so my hotel, a 2-star hotel, if I get 2,000, what is 2,000 to me? It can't even pay 2 stars. Are you getting me? So this stimulus package is woefully inadequate.
Mr. Donyina wants government to add accumulated funds from the tourism levy, for instance, to support the hospitality industry.
In hotel industry, we have something called 1% tourism levy. It's levy that we tax any person who comes to our place to consume our product. We take 1% from him, and then we pay it to the government. As at 2016 December, the fund has accumulated 22 million Ghana cedis over there. Hotels alone contributed 18.6 million from that account. Now, from 2016 up to now, let's assume that the fund is now about 30 million. What is that money sitting for?
In the wake of these challenges, the only way for these businesses is for government to ease restrictions on the operations to enable businesses to resume work under strict preventive protocols. Prince Apia reporting.
Now, we're hearing that participating banks and financial institutions in government's COVID-19 business alleviation program will be retaining the 3% interest to be paid by beneficiaries. This is according to the executive director for the National Board for Small-Scale Industries, KOSI YANKEY-ARYEH. She believes the stimulus package will help beneficiaries to sustain the operations.
Get an idea of what the impact was on their businesses and where we should really target the financing and what the needs were. So that is how the assessment and decision on everything, even their doom loans, the need as small loans came out of.
So are the banks also allowed to put in the interest? Because don't forget, they are also going to do documentations and all that, and their staff and all that. Will they also be allowed to put in?
No, they won't be allowed to put in.
So how will they also, who will pay for their cost?
So that's the 3%, right?
Yes, so the 3% is going to the banks.
Yes.
The banks take the 3%.
They will take the risk of it as well. So I think that it's important to note that, as I said, it's not normal times. So we can't do normal things. I can't give you 20, 30%. I can if I want to. However, we need to strengthen our businesses. We need to get the businesses on. We need to sustain them. Some of them are suffering. They cannot even pay interest that much. So we need to be able to help them. And so that's why the president is saying, let's relieve them. Let's make it an emergency fund. Let's give them interest rates that are lower, not what we've done. Not ask them, bring all the collateral, do this, do that, right? So that they can stand still. And it's emergency. It's now. In a week, 2, 3 weeks, or a month, it would be over. There would be nothing to sustain. So we need to act really within a set time. And that's what we're doing.
So the banks agreed to take the 3%?
Of course, if they didn't, they wouldn't have committed.
Well, so far about 7 banks, including the ARB Apex Bank, are on board to help with the disbursement process. Yes, Mrs. KOSI YANKEY-ARYEH again.
Financial institutions based on their reach. So one, ARB Apex Bank. It is a rural bank across the nation and various districts, has a footprint. And so it's one of our main partners to be able to get these access to finance to the people on the ground.
What about I want to know the banks that are involved actually, the universal banks, especially.
There are local banks currently that we are working with. The GCB has the footprint as well, CBG has the footprint as well. ARB Apex is the majority of it because of the footprint, and I think we need to look at it from that angle because ARP looks at the districts level, and also through them the investments are made. So for most people, or for loans, you know, there are 2 types of loans. There's the ADOM loans, which looks at the micro, and then there's the NIDASOR, which looks at the higher ends of the micro, small, and medium. And with those funds, the assessment is done purely by the financial institutions, but not the same way they have done their access to finance, but totally different now. And once they are able to go through the process, the banks then recommend for approval or not approval. Okay? After it's gone through that approval or non-approval stage, then they will disburse the funds to the beneficiaries into their accounts. Then after that process, they also monitor the process to make sure the people are paying back and provide the needed support to make sure people are paying back.
So how many of them are on board now as we speak?
We have, I know that for the rural banks, they have 800 footprint across. We have about 6 or 7 of the financial institutions and who have come on board and are willing to work and support. And also for the micro, we're trying to use the telcos to disburse because it's not everybody who also has access to the banks, and we're trying to encourage them. One of the things we are trying to do for the MSMEs is to ensure that we encourage them to do the right things as well, or put in place the right structures.
Now, Ghana Gas has described as misleading and mischievous claims by the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers Ghana that the liquefied petroleum gas supplied by ATOABO Gas Company is of poor quality. COPEC says the gas is contaminated and could cause explosions. We'll hear from Ghana Gas in a moment, but watch this clip of the Executive Secretary of COPEC, DUNCAN.
What we gather and our reports indicate that ATOABO is putting on the market LPG that is quite high in propane. Now, what that means is that you would have a higher, pressure point, and unfortunately, whatever other gases or odorants they are also adding gives the gas some bad, smell. Beyond the fact that the gas that they are putting on the market is questionable, also is the issue of pricing. Now, for the past 4 months, per our records and per our checks, prices that ATOABO put onto the market has consistently been higher than what the imported gas prices have been from the BDCs. And this has largely been attributed to the fact that the zonalization program by the NPA gives ATOABO exclusive rights to sell and load gas to some particular regions in the country. Exclusive. That means there's no competition from any BDC whatsoever for those regions and as far as consumption is concerned. And so ATOABO is enjoying a certain amount of monopoly in certain parts of the country, and that largely is making them price the way they are doing. As I speak with you, we are quite aware of protests by the LPG marketers, but that notwithstanding, we at COPEC would have expected ATOABO to be a game changer by way of managing prices so efficiently so that the BDCs and whatever prices they import and quote for would have been driven lower by ATOABO's prices. Unfortunately, ATOABO is rather leading them by sometimes 40 pesos. And that cannot be good enough. Our local gas processor should have a plan of making a lot more Ghanaians from the 25% we have today of LPG penetration. ATOABO should drive and lead the way to make a lot more Ghanaians sign on to LPG. Sadly, that is not what ATOABO seem to be doing currently, and we think both the Energy Ministry and the NPA should take a second look at the way and manner ATOABO is operating currently, the quality they are putting on the market, and the sort of prices that they are also churning out as far as the zonalization and exclusivity is concerned. It is not helping all of us.
All right, so that was Executive Secretary of COPEC, DUNCAN, speaking to us a couple of days ago about issues with the quality of LPG supplied by ATOABO. Well, joining me in studio is Head of Corporate Communications at Ghana Gas, Kofi Owusu-Bempah-Bonsu. Thanks very much for your time this afternoon. So what's your reaction to the claims by COPEC about the quality of gas supplied by ATOABO?
Thanks for having me. First of all, it's very important that when it comes to this technical area in terms of oil and gas, we need to be very, very careful pronunciations in terms of what we say. I mean, clearly talking about pricing, I have to go clearly with the last 6 months breakdown of what we do in terms of pricing. When you look at this diagram here, I didn't bring a copy so that we can show you to the last 6 months, the amount that we charge per the dollar rate in terms of the charges that we do. Here you look at it, the standard price per reference Argus butane AR. That is the standard price for the Standard Authority. That's what we use for all the industry. When you look at this, this is what is called the other producers or importers from other countries. And this is 169.4 per metric ton. And they put insurance and freight charges, which is $86, premium is $30, and then a total amount is $285.45. This is Ghana Gas price, which is 169.45, which we don't charge freight, we don't charge premium, we don't charge any discount, and it's the lowest within the industry. I mean, talking about the imported ones in Ghana gas. So I don't know where he got his information from in terms of what he's talking about in terms of pricing. We follow the local and international safety standards. I mean, in terms of international pricing standards, in terms of what we put out there. So the last 6 months, when you talk about the quality of gas, the last 6 months we've been doing what we call 7.46 kilogram per centimeter cube, which is the standard that Ghana Gas is producing per quality. And when you look at it from the Ghana Standard Authority measurement, is 9.5 kilogram per centimeter cube, which is way below what he's talking about. So basically, I mean, when he talks about all these things, that the issues that he's raised is fall flat based on what he's saying here. Pricing is, I don't know totally what he's talking about in terms of pricing, in terms of what issues that he raised on the subject matter that he's talking about.
I should think that the COPEC is coming from the perspective of a consumer and what they expect. I don't really know what backs the claims of the gas causing explosions and all of that.
That is also important, that it's not in the domain of Ghana Gas to determine whether gas that we produce from there, we follow the international safety
But it should be of interest for you.
We follow the international.
It goes to the consumer eventually.
No, I'm coming to my point. We follow the international safety protocols.
Okay.
I mean, wherever we have the oil and gas industry, Ghana Gas is one of the top notch when it comes to the production of gas per the safety and protocols that we're supposed to follow. I mean, we've won several awards internationally, which indicates that we have what it takes. And the Standard Authority, locally and internationally, we have standards that we're supposed to produce the gas. So when you talk about explosions, you cannot, and I repeat, you cannot use a tanker or a facility that takes 5.9 kg to go and pick a gas coming from Atuabo, which is 7.46 kg.
So is the problem with the tankers?
So no, you're looking at the system, safety protocols, that after Atuabo, what happened next? We have only one company who is a monopoly, who is off-taker, final off-taker for delivery of gas to other consumers, which is Quantum and Sake. They're supposed to make sure that the right thing is done from there to the consumer to the next level.
So I just want to establish the point. So you're saying that it's about the delivery and not the product itself, or the circumstances through which the product is delivered to the market?
I'm talking about Ghana Gas, our domain, where COPEC is making allegations that is unsubstantiated. And I've told you about pricing, which fall flat. Our prices are very low as compared to what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Giving you figures here.
No, I just wanted us to deal with the issues of quality, because when I raised issues about potential explosions, I don't know where COPEC is getting those claims from. You were making reference to tankers, and so I just wanted to establish the point whether or not it is the product or the mode of delivery.
Before the product leave the gantry point at the final destination at Atuabo Gas to Quantum and Sage, all the safety protocols in terms of the measurement, the safety standard that's supposed to be followed have been adhered to.
Right.
And we are doing it per the international standards.
Okay.
I mean,
so then you raised a point about tankers that I wanted you to explain very well so that we get a good understanding. That
is what I'm saying, that if, let's say, I told you about the local international standard per what we produced last month, it's about 7.46 kg. And then you use a tanker maybe to do 5.7 or 5.6 to do 7.7 or 7.6. Gas is compressed and put into a confinement. Definitely the pressure would want to come out, and then it will just cause explosion in terms of how they go about it. So it's not coming from Ghana Gas. All these statements that was made out there in terms of pricing and quality and all these things that is raised, it's not here. It's neither here nor there.
Well, I guess at the heart of this is the consumer who wants to be assured that they are getting quality gas and they are getting gas they can pay or they can afford. What assurances can you give to consumers?
Ghana Gas can give them assurance that we are producing the gas which is of best quality per the international standard. And we have the lowest pricing that you can tell based on the figures that we're given per international standard. So Our pricing from international compared to the international one, imported one from ours is the lowest when you compare the two. So I don't know where COPEC is coming from in terms of that. So we can give them assurance that Ghana Gas is working with the people of Ghana, and then our pricing and our quality is up to standard.
Would you fancy engaging COPEC in future to?
Of course. I mean, concerns? That's why we put out a statement, and the statement talks about all the technical issues that they put out there, the issues that they raised, and all the things that they've talked about in terms of the pricing and then the quality.
Okay.
Always. We set the record straight in terms of our press statement.
Thank you so much for the clarification, Head of Corporate Communications at Ghana Gas, Kofi Owusu-Bempah-Bonsu. Well, the country secured $144 million as revenue from crude oil exports for the first quarter of this year. This is contained in the Petroleum Receipts and Distribution Report for the first 3 months of the year. YANKEY-ARYEH has more.
$114 million came in the form of taxes and royalties paid by all the firms operating on the country's oil fields. This represents a significant increase over the $67 million secured for the first quarter of 2019. The $114 million came from about 8.5 million barrels of crude oil that was exported for the first quarter of this year. The data from the Ministry of Finance showed that in terms of exports from Ghana's share from the two oil fields, that is TEN and Sankofa, about $118 million was secured from its exports. It also revealed that each barrel of crude was sold between $62 to $63 during the first quarter of this year. Other petroleum receipts like income tax and royalties brought in about $51 million, with Anadako paying the highest in terms of a corporate tax of $14 million. However, for many, the concern will be whether these earnings can be sustained for the rest of the year, looking at the way prices of crude oil in the international market are declining and its impact on government's expenditure and revenue going forward for this year.
And that's Business Live tonight. More news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. You can get up to date on all of the day's stories on that website, myjoyonline.com/business. My name is Daryl. Thanks for watching. Enjoy your weekend. We'll be back next week.